Today I'm touring the Give Kids the World Village located in Kissimmee, Florida. The president and CEO of the organization, Pamela Landworth, will share the many wonderful features that make the village a special place for children and families in need. Thanks so much for having us here today. I really appreciate it. Tell us about yourself and Give Kids the World.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for joining us today. Yes, Give Kids the World is an 89-acre nonprofit resort based right here in Kissimmee, and we're the destination for children from around the world who are battling a critical illness and share one wish, and that's to experience all the magic that Central Florida has to offer, whether it's, meeting Mickey Mouse or going to Disney, Universal, SeaWorld, Legoland. And about 50% of all children who are battling a critical illness, this is their wish.
And how does the organization help support children and their families where the children have chronic illnesses or cancer?
Yeah, certainly. So we provide a weeks-long cost-free experience for the child and their entire family. So it's wonderful. They get to come here, stay at our beautiful, whimsical resort village, stay in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, completely wheelchair accessible villa. We have a lot of amenities here, including our ice cream, a Henry Starlight Scoop, which serves ice cream from 7:30 in the morning till 9:30 at night. In addition to all the wonderful things we have here, they get to go to all of the parks. So again, it's a time for the families to reconnect here, and it's all about creating the happiness that inspires hope, and that's what we're trying to do, is to engage them and get them so excited they'll want to go back and renew their battle against that illness.
What inspired the formation of the Give Kids the World organization?
So we're getting ready to celebrate our 36th anniversary on March 7th, and in that time we've served over 177,000 families. But it all started with one. So Henry Landworth, who's the founder, owned a Holiday Inn right outside of the main gate of Walt Disney World. And when a wish granting organization would identify a child with a critical illness, they would often call his hotel and say, hey, would you put the family up for free if we can make all the other necessary arrangements? And of course, he'd always say yes. And then one day his general manager told him a reservation was canceled for that evening for a little girl named Amy from Virginia who'd been battling leukemia. And unfortunately for her, time simply ran out and she wasn't able to get her wish fulfilled. So Henry started asking questions, how could that happen? And he found it was taking several months for the wish granting partners to make all those arrangements. And he said, I can solve that. I can streamline the process. So we can literally bring children down in less than 24 hours if need be. So that little girl was the inspiration for starting Give Kids the World.
When people come to the village, tell us what they're going to see when they arrive.
Well, we want to make them feel welcome right from the get-go. So volunteers meet each and every family at the airport or the train station, however they're arriving, to make sure they feel welcome, help them get their luggage. If they have a rental car, again, cost-free. And then they come to the village and they come to our welcome hut and we give them a great big welcome home there. And then they come to our House of Hearts. And that's really the hub of Give Kids the World. That's where our guest services area is. They come in there and they're led down to their villa. It's a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bath villa that's completely wheelchair accessible. And even though we provide all the meals, we have a kitchen here, a refrigerator that's stocked with some water and soft drinks for their stay, and of course coffee and those kinds of things. And the kids love it because when we show them their bedroom, of course it's the larger bedroom. They have a whirlpool in their bath and a wheelchair accessible shower, which we kind of take for granted, but there's so many kids who aren't able to take a shower on their own. And after they have experienced the villa, then they get to go out on the avenue and just see all of the wonderful things that we have. We have Kelly's Sunny Swing, which is again a swing where it's wheelchair accessible. So much fun. Then they make it down the avenue. Of course, everybody's favorite spot is Henry Starlight Scoops, where they can have ice cream from 7:30 in the morning until 9:30 at night. So imagine being able to have a banana split for breakfast, a hot fudge sundae for lunch, and then another kind of concoction right before they go to bed. And that's probably the number one thing that the families remember and the kids certainly love while they're here. On Monday nights, every Monday night year-round, we celebrate Halloween. So we provide, either costumes or face painting, and the kids can go trick-or-treating. Every Thursday night is Christmas. We have a special little area that's set up where Santa's summer home is, and it's just beautiful. And Santa comes out and greets the kids. We make it snow on the avenue. We have horse-drawn carriage rides, and of course, every child in the family gets a gift. So on Friday nights, we have a Pirates and Princesses party down at the pool. We have Mayor Clayton's birthday party. We have a night where the kids get up on stage, and it's a Village Idol program where the kids get up on stage and perform. And of course, at the end, everybody's a winner. So there's just so many amazing things that the families can experience here, and hopefully, create that happiness that inspires hope.
Right now, through our typical office, we are having this issue that we call No More Stolen Ancestors. Throughout Florida, some of the major museums throughout the United States, if you get federal funding, there's a thing called NAGPRA. Basically, it means that if you have remains of indigenous, that's supposed to be returned to the tribes. And we are having that issue with a lot of museums now because they see as during the Seminole Wars, our ancestors were collected after the battle and they were brought to into museums and they were saw as collections. And then when they do sites for homes or do sites for a new project, sometimes they do come upon a burial site. Instead of leaving that site back in the 50s and 40s, they would dig those sites up and take all the remains. And once again, they would put them in cardboard boxes and put them into the museums. Once again, we're not collections. Those were our ancestors. Those are the ones that fought for us to be here. And so under federal law, those remains are supposed to come back to the people. But what we do is we'll find a location, whether it's the original burial site or a federal land that we close to where they fell, and we will return our ancestors to their burial sites. So this is something that we're going on right now with a lot of museums. Some of the museums are going into compliance, and some are staunchly holding that line. These are ours and we won't return them no matter what. So this is a constant battle for us. And I did bring my flute. And so I want to play a song. This one's called Everglades. This song is actually inspired by a photograph that used to be at the Athothake Museum. It was a man in a canoe. And in his canoe, he had packages, and it said, near the Big Cypress Reservation. So when a man would go hunting for his skins to go trade, he could be away from home for 10 to 14 days. Knowing this, him coming from city life, and he's coming into the Everglades, and all that sound is now behind him. Just imagining him hearing the bull alligator or the dragonfly or the birds without any of the modern sounds. I just started imagining what he started hearing. And so I started playing sounds to this man. Then I saw while I'm playing in the picture, there was a little toy truck. So he had a child he's bringing his trade for, what he's bringing home. And I just started thinking how proud he felt, because that was his responsibility to provide for his family. He's feeling proud that he's almost home. So I started putting that into the song. And it was around a blind corner. So I'm playing to this man all by myself. And we started having guests in the Athothake Museum. And people would round that corner and run into me playing. And they thought, oh, we thought it was a tape. We thought it was so beautiful. So I just said, hey, I love this song. I love playing this to this man. I'm going to keep this song as one of mine. So this is Everglades.
Wonderful.
Once again, thank you for having us. Thank you for a great interview. Shadam Shmadol.
Hi, thank you so much for having us here today. It really is an amazing place and lots to see. How would you define a makerspace?
I would define a makerspace as a community first of like-minded people who enjoy making things with their hands. Usually I'm more on the geekier side, but technology related. But anything from woodworking to 3D printing to cutting something out on a laser to having a vinyl cutter to doing embroidery or cosplay. It's a community of like-minded people who want to make things with their own hands.
What can people expect when they first come into this makerspace?
So MakerFX is a little different than the other makerspaces around. We are community driven. We focus on educations. We want to make sure that anybody who walks through the door is, first of all, welcomed. And then secondly, that they don't have to know everything. We want to teach them what they can do and kind of unlock those possibilities. So we greet them, we walk around, we give them a nice tour, we show them all the tools that are available to them here, and then we immediately tell them that, hey, you don't have to know everything. We're going to teach you what you don't know. And that seems to be really well received from a lot of people.
During that tour that you give people, what do they see when they're here?
So we start off just like where we are here in the lobby, and we kind of give them a brief introduction of who we are, what our history is, and then we take them around and show them all the different tools that we have. And we tell them like literally how easy it is. We show them finished results of stuff we've done on the lathe, stuff we've done on the laser, stuff we've done on the vacuum form. We show them all these things, and we can just watch their creative gears start working, and they know like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to have all these things done. One of the things, people tend to get overwhelmed because there's a lot going on in our space. There's a lot of stuff. It's like ADD for your eyeballs in this place. There's stuff everywhere on the walls. And so it can be a little overwhelming, but we kind of offset that by focusing in on what that member wants to do.
And you have all sorts of stations here. What are the different stations that you have?
So we have a variety of different tools that members use. So we have everything from an embroidery machine, several sewing machines, sergers, 2 vinyl cutters, 2 vacuum formers, 2 lasers, an entire wood shop with lathes, a CNC, a couple miter saws, 6 different 3D printers, and that's just kind of scratching the surface.
What makes MakerFX unique?
Outside of our community, I would say the fact that we are really, really focused on education and outreach. All the makerspaces in town are fantastic, and they all have their own vibe to them. Some are more hackerspace oriented, some are more startup oriented. We find ourselves more education and outreach oriented here. So that's what kind of makes our culture unique.
What level of experience does someone need to have in order to use the tools in the spaces here?
None whatsoever. We would rather teach somebody brand new habits that are good as opposed to unteaching them bad habits that they've learned somewhere else. So you need absolutely no experience. You just have to have the drive, the motivation, and the curiosity to learn to do something. If you've never used a vacuum former before, we show people how to use a vacuum former. If you've never used a laser, there's a class for laser. So every tool that we have in the shop has a class associated with it. Those classes are free, unless there's materials involved in that class, and then we just ask for the offset of that, and they're very, very inexpensive. And those classes are also open to the public. You don't need to be a member to come in and learn how to do 3D printing. You'll get some information that is MakerFX specific, but you'll still get a lot of information that is 3D printer specific.
You went over some of your programs. Can you give us a quick rundown of what they are?
Sure. So our very first program, the Makerspace itself, we are a member, we're underneath our 501c educational nonprofit called MakerFX Foundation. So the Makerspace is the first program under that, and that's what you've seen here, where we have all the tools to make different things. One of our other programs that I mentioned was Robot Ruckus, where we do combat robotics from different weight classes. We have a couple of tournaments every year, the major one being at Maker Faire, which happens in November. Some other programs we have Bright Bikes, where we take regular bicycles and outfit them with the craziest LEDs you've ever seen. We made a giant 1980s-esque boom box, like a big boom box on a bike we call Boom Bike. One of the other projects that we do is with the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, where we make art desks for them. So we have our large CNC in the wood shop, where we CNC out art desks for these kids. But before just taking them over there and giving them a plain art desk, we make sure to have those art desks, we put them in the hands of local artists who then paint the entire tops of those desks. So when the students get them, they have an instant moment of inspiration that they can do. And they can lift the desk, keep all their art supplies in there, work on their stuff, and just have that project with them the entire time. We also do classes on everything from Raspberry Pis to Arduinos to how to get the best out of solar panels in your house, to just about everything, anything you can think of. One of the things our members really like doing is teaching. So if we have a member that comes in who knows a particular software package and goes, hey, I can teach you guys how to use this software package so you can make more stuff, we're all about it. We love when that happens.
This country has the worst birth outcomes in all of the developed nations. We are dead last as far as maternal child health, maternal morbidity and mortality, and infant mortality. So my own personal experience with my own female health issues led me to push forward and say, no, it really is important to bring back options for folk. And the best options, as far as I'm concerned, is community-based support, and that's midwifery.
And what programs form part of Common Sense Childbirth?
Well, we make sure to have access for any and everybody who presents for care. That means no one's turned away. So what we've made sure to do is offer what we call a triage opportunity for our community members. That means if you have insurance or you don't, we will see you. If you have funds to pay or you can't, we will still see you. If you are looking for a certain type of care, we want to make sure we can be the conduit to get you to that kind of care. So we triage in the sense of what do you need for this pregnancy? What are you looking for in your maternity care and support that will have you feel completely full of empowerment, feel safe, feel that you have agency and you can make decisions. So we offer that open door, but then we also provide prenatal care if you choose to stay with us. And that's the regular care that you would get at any other OB. If you stay low risk, we continue the care right up to delivery. If you are higher risk, you have your baby in the hospital. If you are low risk and you want a natural birth, we offer birthing services at our center. And then lastly, we take a lot of time and care with postpartum. There's not enough providers for postpartum care. Women have their babies and they feel abandoned, they feel left out, they don't have anywhere to turn. So we provide postpartum care, sometimes up to 1 year postpartum if needed, so that mothers and families are able to feel supported and to get back on their feet after having a baby.
So you were discussing that there's a high mortality rate.
Yes.
And definitely one of the things that I've been seeing and learning through my political career is that there is lack of access, but not only lack of access, but also that minority women are not feeling heard and
right.
they're not seeing what they should be seeing when it comes to medical care for
Yes.
their female needs.
That's exactly right. And it's hard to hear because you'd hope that we wouldn't be in that situation. Again, we are the most resourced country in the entire world. But you're actually, what we're seeing is 3 to 4 times as many Black women and Native American women are suffering, either being harmed or are dying, giving birth in the United States. Latinas do a little bit better, but not much better. So there's definitely a relationship between race, ethnicity, and your outcome. And so that leaves you asking the question, why? Because obviously there's not a physiological difference, right? So recently we've been able to kind of really realize that the research points to the fact that it's actually racism, it's classism, sexism, it's power dynamics that make the difference in how things turn out. And what we're looking at, when we look at these statistics, we see it's not just this sort of, well, you know, sorry you didn't have the birth that you wanted, but it's rather a longer term disability. Postpartum, most folk are depressed and overwhelmed. There's a definite need for mental health support. With us not having maternity leave and paternity leave, mothers are back in the workforce sometimes at 2 to 3 weeks post-delivery, and they're struggling. We have more people depressed and overwhelmed, and where we lose people in the postpartum period is to suicide and through these mental health conditions, as well as the fact that we are seeing most people who are losing their life are usually of color, and regardless of their socioeconomics. It's not about, well, you're Black and you're low income, or you're Black and you're uneducated. It is across the race, including people with means. Look at somebody like Serena Williams, for example. She had she nearly died having her baby in the United States. There's something going on that really needs to be investigated more. We need to make more effort to listen to women, to hear them, respect them. Many women talk about being ignored, not having their concerns addressed, being mistreated, and that can't stand.
What can we do to make sure that women understand their choices? Because I know that when we go to see a doctor, we're putting our trust in that
That's right.
doctor. We're
That's
trusting
right.
that doctor's looking out for our best interests.
Yes,
And may not realize that they're not giving us all of our options.
indeed. Well, that was my personal story. And that's what drives me to this day. One of the things that we found, the easiest thing you could do, in fact, and the most cost-effective thing you can do, is open up the doors. Access to care, quality care, is the avenue to get the trust and to get the compliance. People that trust that you're helping them from the perspective of you really want what's best for them, they will follow instructions. They want to know. Women ask me all day long, Miss Jenny, what do I have to do? Once you have that approach, we work as a team and we can get it done. So having access to all kinds of providers, not just the physicians or not just the hospitals, but the community educators, the health workers, the breastfeeding support, the childbirth classes, as well as nurses, nurse practitioners, midwives, physician assistants, the whole interdisciplinary team. As we work and when we work as a team, we're effective and we improve the quality of the care, and that's where the safety is, that's where we get the outcome. So we know what to do, it's just whether or not we find the will, the decision to go ahead and do it. And so we found the best way is to make sure no one gets turned away, and we troubleshoot everybody individually, meet people where they are, and help guide them to their next steps, make the referrals, make the connections. It's about collaborative care, and that model works.
As they say, necessity is the mother of all invention. Here I am in suburbia, not a big lot, can't have a garden because there's no room. And if I wanted to do hydroponics, which is a little bit better from a space utilization standpoint, if you go online and you look up some of the hydroponic designs, they're 5-gallon buckets, there's all kinds of contraptions, and they're not exactly HOA friendly. So I needed to come up with a design that would fulfill a lot of different aspects. First off, it needed to work. It had to be aesthetically pleasing. It had to be adaptable. It had to be easy to clean. It had to be automated because nobody's got time to tend to a garden. We could go away for a week and everything's still automated. Everything's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It was also important for me to try to utilize materials that anybody could get their hands on. Just about everything that I do comes from big box or a hydroponic supply store. It's replicable, and I want it to catch on. I want somebody to steal my ideas and go, if they want to do this themselves, that's part of what this is about, because it's not about us doing this. It's about what good can this do for everybody else.
Yes, and each design is custom made, so it's not just, one design doesn't fit all. So it depends on where you are, where you want it, what you're going to grow,
what you want it to look like.
What you want it to look like.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Mm-hmm.
What are the main components?
The components are gutter, vinyl gutter, a structure to support the gutter. When you look at how everything interfaces after you get your plant started and the rock wool, this is a little baby Swiss chard here. Then they graduate, and these are clay pellets. So you just put your clay pellets in these reusable pots, put your little guy in there, fill it up with the clay pellets, and once he's covered, he's just ready to sit in the unit. And I'm gardening at the table. I didn't even get dirty. No dirty fingernails. This is awesome.
How about we cover some of those other components, like the nutrients?
Okay. The other parts of the system is you have a nutrient tank, which I like to install with a float switch. So it's hard plumbed in. That way, if you're gone for a week, the tank's not going to, all your water's evaporated out from the plants.
Right.
It's going to constantly fill it. And from there, everything's on a timer. So the pump's going to run for 12 hours a day, roughly. It doesn't need to run at night because no evapotranspiration is going on at night. You have to add nutrients. You have to keep the pH right. It's really a lot less complicated than what it sounds. I tell my customers, add a tablespoon of this once a week. Just make sure, adjust your pH with a little bit of diluted acid, because in order for the plants to take in a lot of the nutrients, the pH needs to be below 7. Those nutrients need to be not in a solid state. They need to be easily available for the plant to absorb, and that usually happens at a pH around 6.
And it doesn't really take that much time. I mean, every day you don't have to attend to it. I mean, 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, maybe every other day. I mean, it's really no time and effort.
An
an hour a week, yeah.
Yep.
And I don't have a green thumb, so I mean, it's great because it does it pretty much all by itself. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you mentioned a couple of pros. What are some others?
I just like the freshness of it. I like knowing what's in my food. I like knowing what's not in my food. And I like the idea that there's not a lot of waste. If I'm going to the store and I'm buying lettuce, I'm buying more lettuce than I can eat in one sitting. But when I can walk out on my lanai and take whatever lettuce I need for tacos, it's going to stay much fresher on the plant than it's going to in my refrigerator. Plus, it's not already 4 days old when I'm getting it as fresh as I can at the store.
What tips and tricks do you have for those interested in starting a hydroponic garden?
Get some help. That's what we're here for, and that's what makes this work. I tell my customers, I'm going to build you an airplane, but don't worry about flying it, because I'm going to help you every step of the way. And that's really where the enjoyment comes for me, and not overwhelming somebody. It's like, I'm not going to throw a book at you. I'm not going to have you do a bunch of videos. It's like, today we're going to plant, and I'm going to teach you how to plant, and I'm going to teach you how to make your basic, starting solution, which is a lot more mild than what they're going to get. And then once we reach certain stages, then the class continues. And a lot of it's done virtually with text messages and, just a quick phone call. If you send me a picture of what you got going on, I can be ready for you with the next step. Then there's a lot of engagement in the first 3 months, and it seems like every time after 3 months, customers start ghosting me because they got this down and they just don't need that anymore. And it's, I feel like I raised a child, and it's like, okay, here, you got this. You can do this now on your own, and that's really the fun of this.
Yeah, there are more pros than cons. I mean, like you were saying, it's just, you go out, you just get whatever you need. You don't have to worry about overbuying and, something just sitting in your refrigerator going bad. And, if you have too much, you can always share with your neighbors, make friends.
Yeah, here's a pro. I've probably got about 18 cents into this right here, and I can go buy a bundle of Swiss chard that's 5 days old that's like $4 or $5. It just doesn't make any sense.
Tell us about the project you're working on with Cypress Springs Elementary School.
We're really super excited about this. A lot of kids these days, they have no idea where their food comes from. They think it might come from a box or, add a seasoning packet or, it's dry food. They don't know what certain items of produce really are. They look at it and they have absolutely no clue. So it's nice to be able to teach them and help them learn where their food comes from, what goes into making their own food, growing their own food.
I am just beyond excited that this contraption that I built on the side of a house so that we could have fresh food has evolved to where friends, neighbors, and now an elementary school, all the new minds that are open. This is why I do what I do. It's absolutely incredible to open minds and show them, hey, gardening isn't necessarily, you don't even have to get dirty to do this. You can grow your food in a different way. And partnering with the staff of the school, they've been absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to see where this goes.